accused of staging outing where he signed autographs amid Blake Lively Justin Baldoni legal.
Pathetic. Oh.
So Ryan Reynolds obviously has to be deported back to. The moral crimes committed here by Ryan Reynolds against Justin Baldoni have amounted to high treason.
Welcome to CelebRush. If you're hungry for the juiciest Hollywood scandals, you're in the right place. And hey, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what we've got coming next. For over 3 decades, Ryan Reynolds has been Hollywood's golden boy, the ultimate nice guy. From his early days as a fresh-faced teen heartthrob to becoming the wisecracking, box office-dominating face of Deadpool, Reynolds has perfected his charming, down-to-earth public persona. He's not just funny, he's effortlessly likable.
And that, to me, is the goosebump moment. That's the thing that I feel most proud of in this movie.
He's that one celeb everyone wishes they could grab a drink with. Generous? Absolutely. This is the guy who casually dropped $1 million to support Ukrainian refugees.
I just can't imagine what it feels like to be told that you got to leave your home, let alone with 15 minutes notice. You know, we were just feeling a tremendous amount of empathy for the displaced families in Ukraine. So.
And let's not forget his fan-favorite takeover of Wrexham Football Club, turning a struggling team into a global sensation. Fans even started calling him the real-life Ted Lasso. Reynolds didn't just act the part of Mr. Nice Guy, he was the walking, talking, living embodiment of it. But now, things have taken a nasty turn. After years of carefully curating that squeaky clean reputation, Reynolds is watching it crash and burn, all because of his wife, Blake Lively.
It was Ryan Reynolds, this was their strategy, and now they kind of want to put the genie back in the bottle, but guess what? The genie does not want to go back in the bottle.
And trust us, this isn't some petty Hollywood spat. Nope, this is an explosive war between Blake and actor-director Justin Baldoni. A feud so brutal, so messy, that it's pulled Reynolds straight into the eye of the storm. Suddenly, he's not the funny, lovable guy anymore. He's not just an innocent bystander, he's being called a co-conspirator, accused of teaming up with Lively in a ruthless takedown of Baldoni.
Lately, everyone is bashing Blake Lively, but apparently the true villain in this saga is...
And let's just say, the drama. It's only getting started. Hijack a career, sabotage a movie, smear someone's name in every tabloid possible. Sounds like something out of a Hollywood thriller, right? But this is real life, and Ryan Reynolds is right at the center of it. When we first heard whispers of Reynolds' involvement in this messy, cutthroat scandal, it sounded unbelievable. The guy known for his quick wit and effortless charm suddenly being accused of orchestrating a calculated takedown? But here's the thing. You're gonna want to buckle up for this one, because it runs way deeper than anyone imagined. Reynolds has gone from beloved A-lister to an alleged puppet master, with Justin Baldoni accusing him of not just helping Blake Lively kick him off his own movie, but of pulling the strings behind a full-blown media war to wipe Baldoni out completely. And get this, secret meetings at Reynolds' swanky Manhattan mansion? Oh, they happened. And sources claim he wasn't just playing innocent. No, Reynolds allegedly made some subtle but chilling threats, all delivered with that signature cheeky grin.
Everything started when Ryan Reynolds decided to stroll onto the movie set one day and review the dailies.
Like a villain in one of his own movies. Now that this explosive drama has spiraled way beyond their control, Hollywood's so-called golden couple is scrambling to clean up the mess. And Reynolds? He's desperate to fix his sinking reputation. But his latest stunt? It just made things so much worse. Yep, you heard that right. In a cringeworthy attempt to manipulate the narrative, Reynolds was just caught staging a fake paparazzi setup. His team allegedly planted autograph grafters, disguised as fans, to make it look like he's still adored by the public. Seriously? And the worst part? It was painfully obvious. The whole setup was so embarrassingly forced that watching it felt more awkward than a flopped rom-com. Using fake fans just to keep up the Mr. Nice Guy act? That was the final straw. And guess what? Nobody is falling for it anymore.
This is the guy who made all these posters. He realized that he made the posters for the allegedly fake paparazzi shoot with Ryan Reynolds.
Today, we're diving deep into this jaw-dropping scandal. Every shady paparazzi setup, every desperate move to salvage a crumbling reputation, and the reckless ambition that just might take both Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively down for good. Buckle up, because Hollywood's nicest guy is on the fast track to becoming public enemy #1. And trust me, the fall is happening fast, and it's brutal. You know what's really wild about this downward spiral? Just months ago, Ryan Reynolds was on top of the world, honored with Canada's highest civilian award, the Officer of the Order of Canada. A moment meant to celebrate not just his Hollywood charm, but his massive philanthropic work. And let's be real, he had everyone fooled. His PR team? Brilliant. They built him up as the perfect man, the guy your mom wanted you to marry, the guy your friends wanted to grab a beer with, the guy your dad respected, the ultimate good guy. But now, that entire image is shattering.
He was either reading her text messages, reading through the dailies, reading through the script, and he just decided, okay, you know what? This entire production needs to be halted. I don't trust my wife, okay? And my strongest inclination for that was the fact that on the day that the SAG-AFTRA strike ended, on the day that both of them had to go back to work, meaning Ryan had to go back to film for Wolverine and Deadpool, Wayfarer gets that shocking email of demands, and basically their production gets suspended while Ryan gets to go in the UK and feel confident knowing that she's not going to see Justin Baldoni until he's back. That was just my speculation. Well, in the recent filing, we can now see that Ryan was panicked in general about him being apart from Blake Lively, so much so that when they first communicated with one another, okay, so this is the first time that Ryan Reynolds and Justin Baldoni are speaking to one another, and they're exchanging text messages, and Justin Baldoni does his thing. There's this thing where he's just like so nice and was like, he literally, to sum it up, because I'm not going to read Justin's entire text, he basically is like, I was nervous to even text you. I'm such a fan of you.
And why? Because Reynolds has been thrust into one of Hollywood's nastiest feuds, a legal war that, at first, wasn't even his mess to begin with. But let's be honest, does anyone really believe he's just an innocent bystander? At first glance, supporting Blake Lively seemed like a normal husband move, right? But once you dig into this chaotic legal battle with Justin Baldoni, one that's playing out like a real-life Netflix thriller, it's hard not to think Reynolds has had his hands all over it. Because if there's one thing Ryan loves more than anything, creating a spectacle. And even the always outspoken Candace Owens has pointed out, Reynolds never really vibed with Baldoni. So, was this just about defending his wife? Or did Reynolds see an opportunity, a chance to pull the ultimate power move?
Amazing. And it then says this like really almost first day of middle school kind of thing where he's like, all of this to say, I know I sound ridiculous, but like, I just really want to be friends with you. Like, he literally tells Ryan he wants to be friends with you. And I could just see Ryan sitting there like, yes, this is exactly what I want.
Either way, the perfect nice guy act? It's officially crumbling. Turns out, Ryan Reynolds never liked Justin Baldoni. Not even a little. And when things exploded in December, that tension boiled over into one of the most vicious legal battles Hollywood has seen in years. That's when Blake Lively dropped her shocking lawsuit, accusing Baldoni of sexual harassment, retaliation, and leading a smear campaign against her. And we're not talking about some flimsy claims. This was over 150 pages of allegations, packed with scandalous details. The moment it hit the press, it dominated headlines. At first, Baldoni was blindsided, but he wasn't about to let Hollywood's golden couple ruin him. Instead, he fired back with a $400 million countersuit. And this time, he didn't just come for Blake, he went straight for Ryan. And that's when Reynolds' name officially got dragged into the fight. Baldoni's lawsuit made it clear he wasn't buying the idea that Reynolds was just a supportive husband standing by his wife's side. No, according to Baldoni, Ryan wasn't just watching from the sidelines. He was actively involved in a calculated scheme to hijack Baldoni's own film project right out from under him. But here's the wildest part. Baldoni actually admired Ryan Reynolds. He looked up to him, respected his work. In fact, when they first met, Baldoni was so eager to work with Reynolds that when Ryan asked him to change the production schedule to fit his calendar, he said yes, no questions asked. And now, that respect has turned into all-out war. Baldoni didn't owe Ryan Reynolds anything. His business was with Blake Lively, not her husband. But when Reynolds asked for a schedule change, Baldoni agreed, just trying to keep things friendly. So how did things go from that, a simple bro-to-bro favor, to Baldoni accusing Reynolds of launching a full-blown, well-funded attack to completely destroy his career and reputation? Well, if there's one thing you should know about Hollywood, it's that 6 months is more than enough time for the entire world to flip upside down. And according to Baldoni, that's exactly what happened. His lawsuit claims that Reynolds used his massive Hollywood influence to bully, manipulate, and outright threaten anyone who stood in his and Blake's way. Suddenly, Mr. Nice Guy wasn't looking so nice anymore. In fact, Baldoni suggested that maybe Reynolds was never that guy to begin with. Because let's be real, how do you explain the eerie similarities between all of this and those brutal Deadpool scenes? You know the ones, where Reynolds' character mercilessly takes shots at his wife and her director, almost like he was mocking this exact situation before it even happened.
And I guess you've already met Mary Poppins, aka Dogpool. Careful where you put your hand, she's 90% G-spot and she'll let you know it. You let this little flirt out of your sight for 1 second and she starts shopping for a new papa. If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn. Guilty on all charges, Your Honor.
When people finally connected the dots, the reaction across Hollywood was pure shock. Jaws dropped, conversations stopped. This wasn't just scandalous, it was unthinkable. Could Ryan Reynolds, the wholesome, beloved Canadian golden boy, really be capable of something so calculated, so manipulative, so downright sinister? At first, the idea that he would sneak a scene into his own blockbuster franchise just to mock Justin Baldoni sounded ridiculous. But then, people actually watched it again, and suddenly, it wasn't so absurd anymore. Because when you break down that scene, the details are too specific, too precise to be just a coincidence.
Going, nothing in this scene is funny, nothing in this scene makes sense. Why is he alleging that his wife is trying to place him in a skit which is promoting domestic violence?
And just like that, the carefully constructed image of Mr. Nice Guy shattered. Fans quickly put the puzzle together. Reynolds wasn't just standing by his wife, he was actively helping her obliterate another man's career. But here's where it gets even crazier. Reynolds didn't stop with that Deadpool scene. Nope. Once he and Blake successfully took over the movie, Reynolds took things even further. He started throwing not-so-subtle jabs at Baldoni in skits promoting the film, and this time, he wasn't even trying to hide it. Even Candace Owens couldn't believe what she was seeing.
Well, it's not every day the mother-in-law of the leading lady gets to interview the love interest, and the man trying to replace my sweet little gummy bear, Ryan. Let's dive in.
And if you're sitting here wondering, what do these petty jabs have to do with the movie they were supposed to be promoting? Trust me, you're not the only one. It's wild when you really think about it. Ryan Reynolds front and center, doing promo skits for a movie that was supposed to be his wife's project. At the time, most people had no clue they had already staged the coup, that the movie was no longer Justin Baldoni's to control. But once you re-watch those skits, the innuendo is unmistakable, the tension is palpable, and the stark contrast between Reynolds' charming, goofball persona and the ruthless, behind-the-scenes power moves he was making, impossible to ignore. This wasn't the Ryan Reynolds the world thought they knew. There was nothing superhero-like about his involvement in this messy, ugly scandal. And while the legal battle might officially be Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, let's be real, this is Ryan Reynolds versus Justin Baldoni. Then came the glitzy New York City premiere of It Ends With Us. Cameras flashing, reporters buzzing, Blake Lively glowing, everything seemed picture perfect. Until she dropped the bombshell that nobody saw coming. In what seemed like a casual red carpet chat with E! News, Blake, without even blinking, let something slip. She casually revealed that the now infamous rooftop scene, the one she had previously credited as her own creative vision, was actually written by none other than Ryan Reynolds himself.
It's so thrilling in our house right now. We help each other. We work together so much. The iconic rooftop scene in this movie, my husband actually wrote it. Nobody knows that, but.
And just like that, the entire scandal took on a whole new level of deception. She said it on live TV. Do you know how confident you have to be to just drop a truth bomb like that? Blake. Lively didn't just let a minor detail slip. She exposed a carefully hidden secret that instantly shattered the narrative she had been selling to the world. And more importantly, to Justin Baldoni himself.
He wrote it. He works on everything I do. I work on everything he does. So his wins, his celebrations are mine, and mine are his. I mean, he's all over this film.
At this point, it's no shock that Reynolds was deeply invested in this movie, even though he had zero contractual obligation to be. When Blake says jump, Ryan says how high, and vice versa. At first, when this E! News interview aired 7 months ago, most fans didn't think twice about it. But after everything that's unfolded since, the outrage has been next level. Fans and critics, many of whom had been obsessively following every update about It Ends With Us, felt completely betrayed. And no, it wasn't just because Blake had been blatantly lying. It was because they felt for Baldoni. The biggest question flooding social media? Why had Blake gone out of her way to portray the rooftop scene as her own creative triumph, when in reality she was just delivering Ryan's ideas? Was this ever really about collaboration, or was it just sabotage? And, as expected, the backlash was vicious. Twitter, Reddit, and TikTok erupted with accusations of manipulation, deceit, and betrayal. Blake really had us fooled. One viral tweet read, racking up thousands of likes in hours. Another fan didn't hold back, writing, Ryan ghostwriting Blake's scenes behind Baldoni's back feels shady as hell. This was never about collaboration. It was sabotage. But where did Reynolds really mess up? Out of nowhere, new rumors started swirling. Claims that he had a hand in Baldoni getting dropped by his agency, WME. And just like that, this was no longer just about a movie. It was a full-blown power move. Turns out, it wasn't just a rumor. Ryan Reynolds wasn't just involved, he was front and center in getting Justin Baldoni dropped from WME, the biggest agency in Hollywood. At first, it seemed too outrageous to be true, but after everything we've uncovered in the past few weeks, can anyone really be surprised anymore? They had already taken the movie, so what more could they possibly want? Well, here's where it gets even darker. Reynolds allegedly figured that if he could get Baldoni completely blacklisted in Hollywood while also turning the fans against him, he'd have no choice but to give up the rights to the movie. And if that happened, Ryan and Blake would have total creative control, not just over this film, but over a potential sequel as well. Now, take a second and put yourself in Baldoni's shoes. Imagine pouring your heart and soul into adapting a beloved novel, crafting every scene, every dialogue, making sure every frame did justice to the story, only to sit at your own movie premiere and realize that the most talked about moment wasn't even yours. Or even Blake's, as the world had been led to believe. But here's the most brutal part. Baldoni wasn't even given the final cut. He had no idea what changes had been made. He had zero control over what ended up on screen. And when he finally sat down to watch it, that's when he found out. The receipts don't lie. In those leaked text messages released by Baldoni's team, Blake Lively was talking like she single-handedly crafted that rooftop scene rewrite, pushing hard for her vision and doing everything she could to get Baldoni to compromise. But when he refused to budge, she yanked the rug right out from under him. She loudly took credit for the rewrite in that 2023 Forbes interview, portraying herself as the driving creative force behind the film. But let's be real, she couldn't even write a scene herself. She had to call in Ryan. So what does that say about her dream of being a director? Because at the end of the day, Ryan Reynolds, a man with zero official creative role in the film, was the one crafting key scenes behind the scenes. And that's the ultimate betrayal. Baldoni didn't just lose control of his movie, he was played. Completely. And the more you think about it, the uglier it gets. How long has Reynolds been pulling Blake's strings on this project? Was anything she pushed onto Baldoni even her idea? Or was she just a proxy? A mouthpiece for Ryan, pushing his hidden agenda straight onto the film set? Because if that's the case, then this wasn't just creative differences, it was a calculated takeover. And honestly, it's mind-boggling. At this point, it's painfully clear Blake Lively wasn't a producer, she wasn't a screenwriter, she was just the giddy messenger for Ryan Reynolds. And let's be real, this scandal about Ryan secretly rewriting major parts of the film? It's not just embarrassing, it completely undermines the authenticity of the entire project. It Ends With Us wasn't some random indie flick. It was one of the most highly anticipated adaptations in recent memory. Colleen Hoover's novel has an intensely loyal fan base, people who expected sincerity, sensitivity, and a genuine artistic vision, especially considering the heavy subject matter of domestic violence. So, when fans saw how Blake carried herself during the press tour, they were furious. The backlash was relentless, probably more criticism than she's ever faced in her entire career. Instead of reflecting on her actions, taking accountability, or even just acknowledging the backlash, she did something even worse. She turned around and blamed Baldoni. And here's the real kicker. Fans were stunned when they realized why she accused him of financing a smear campaign against her. Because at the end of the day, she more than deserved the criticism. Not only was her behavior off, but the moment she was asked even one serious question about the actual themes of the movie, she couldn't answer. It was almost like Blake Lively had no clue about the sensitive real-life topics this movie was built on. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni thought he had made new friends, welcoming what seemed like a power couple into his creative vision. But what he didn't realize? He was about to be exploited in ways he never saw coming. Ryan Reynolds was the mastermind, Blake Lively, the orchestrator. Together, they quietly took control, sidelined Baldoni's authority, and eventually pushed him out of his own film. And now, when you look at the facts, Baldoni's lawsuit isn't just plausible, it's looking more and more like a certainty. Because if Reynolds was secretly writing major scenes, and Blake was actively hiding it, then how many other creative decisions did they hijack? At this point, we might as well call Reynolds the real director, even if he was operating from the shadows. His influence over this film wasn't just significant, it was extreme. And now? The wholesome, supportive couple the world adored? That perfect Hollywood love story? It's been exposed as nothing but a facade. None of it was real. With one disastrous slip of the tongue, Blake Lively unknowingly confirmed the most explosive accusations against her and Ryan. This wasn't just gossip anymore. This was tangible proof that Reynolds had played a far bigger, far more calculated role behind the scenes than anyone had suspected. For Justin Baldoni, who had spent months enduring media scrutiny, skepticism, and relentless public doubt, this moment, it felt like vindication. But for Blake and Ryan, it was the beginning of a PR nightmare they could no longer control. Now, Baldoni's supporters are hoping he can use this E! News interview as concrete evidence of what was done to him behind the scenes. But will it hold up? Only time will tell. And speaking of unraveling public images, let's get into the deliciously messy details of Ryan Reynolds' spectacularly failed attempt to salvage his crumbling reputation. Because honestly, this scandal is juicier than anything the Kardashians could cook up. Now, I don't know if Ryan's PR team malfunctioned or if we should call this an outright glitch in the system, but what happened next? It was beyond embarrassing. There he was, Hollywood's golden boy standing at the Paley Center in New York City, all eyes on him. And what was he doing? That's where it gets murky. Reports say he was there for some event, but that's not what caught people's attention. Because as Reynolds walked out, he was suddenly met with a crowd of adoring fans. Sounds sweet, sounds spontaneous, right? Except there was just one tiny problem. This entire moment was about as authentic as a $3 bill. eagle-eyed TikTok fans wasted no time dissecting the scene. And let's just say, what they uncovered? Wildly embarrassing for Ryan Reynolds. Every single fan in this perfectly timed crowd just happened to be holding the same shabby cardboard sign, scribbled in bright markers, with eerily identical handwriting, matching tape colors, and the exact same design. Seriously? That's just way too much of a coincidence. One popular TikTok creator, Tenniel, didn't hesitate to call out the entire charade, and honestly, she did it so brilliantly that people are still clapping. She pointed out something painfully obvious. No phones. Yep, you heard that right. It's 2025. Since when do fans not whip out their phones the second they see a celebrity? Instead, this entire group just happened to be carrying perfectly crafted signs but had zero interest in recording the moment? Sure, that makes total sense. Now, to be fair, this particular spot in New York is known for attracting autograph hounds. But that doesn't mean this wasn't staged. I mean, we've seen this before. Even Meghan Markle has been accused of similar setups in the past. And Tenniel's scathing breakdown? She summed it up perfectly. It's virtually impossible that an entire group of people just happened to bump into Ryan Reynolds, carrying identical handmade signs, and not a single one thought to record the moment. And honestly, she's got a point. Celebrities calling paparazzi on themselves is nothing new, but this was one step too far. Then again, in Hollywood, it's all just part of the game. Let's be real, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was humiliating. It exposed just how desperate Ryan Reynolds has become, staging fan interactions just to convince the public that he's still as beloved as ever. PR expert Emily Austin, who's seen every kind of Hollywood meltdown in her years of managing celebrity crises, didn't hold back in her brutally honest assessment. And honestly, it's damning. According to Austin, this random fan encounter was nothing more than a highly calculated PR stunt, deliberately staged to drown out the backlash from his involvement in Blake Lively's ugly, high-profile feud with Justin Baldoni. In other words, Reynolds knew exactly what he was doing. He was manipulating the media, trying to shift the focus away from his rapidly deteriorating reputation and back to the old, familiar narrative, the one where Ryan Reynolds is Hollywood's most beloved, effortlessly charming superstar. But unfortunately for Ryan, the entire charade blew up in his face, spectacularly. Instead of distracting the public, it put him directly in the crosshairs of mass ridicule. Social media erupted with memes and relentless mockery, questioning how Hollywood's most authentic nice guy could stoop so low, actually orchestrating a fake fan love fest just to cling to his fading popularity. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Emily Austin dropped another chillingly awkward reality check. These staged photos weren't just about boosting Ryan Reynolds' ego. They were a desperate ploy to drum up positive press before Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's explosive courtroom showdown. PR expert Emily Austin broke it down perfectly. These obviously staged moments didn't just fail, they highlighted Reynolds' growing panic. The man who built an entire career on being relatable, funny, and effortlessly genuine had now been publicly exposed as calculated, insincere, and shockingly manipulative. Some analysts were a bit more neutral in their assessment. While they agreed that it's almost impossible to believe this was just a paparazzi coincidence, they also suggested it might have been a routine PR move meant to make Ryan look good. But here's the thing, that doesn't make it any less weird, and it definitely doesn't make it any less of a terrible look for Reynolds. Just think about it. This is the same Ryan Reynolds who built a loyal fan base through viral moments, candid jokes, and seemingly effortless charm. And yet there he was, clumsily orchestrating a fake fan frenzy, so transparently staged, it was painful to watch. His credibility went from shaky to shattered, all because of one misguided attempt at damage control. But here's the tragic and, honestly, hilarious irony of the whole situation. Reynolds staged this entire event to regain control of his public persona. But instead, he ended up proving exactly what Baldoni accused him of, manipulating the narrative. playing the media game, and undermining his own credibility in the process. And just when you thought this mess couldn't get any wilder, it did. After the paparazzi stunt went viral, some random guy popped up on TikTok claiming he was the one who actually put together all those suspiciously identical fan posters. Yeah, this dude, Bennett, just appeared out of nowhere, spilling that he personally prepared every single sign. Now, let's be real. Would Ryan's PR team really be that sloppy? Maybe, maybe not. This Bennett guy could just be clowning for clout. The fact that there's no real proof means it's just as likely that he's trash-talking for attention. But at the end of the day, that's not even the point. Because this is what Ryan has reduced himself to. If he hadn't pulled such a desperate stunt, no one would be dragging him on TikTok like this. No one would be mocking his every move. But here we are. And now, the tables have turned fast. This is exactly what happens when a celebrity makes a ridiculous, desperate move. Reynolds is now scrambling, humiliated, while the public is left questioning if he was ever truly authentic. People aren't just side-eyeing his PR stunt, they're side-eyeing him. They're actually wondering if the Deadpool they've idolized for years is really just another ruthless Hollywood power player once the cameras stop rolling. And honestly, that's a valid question. Was Ryan Reynolds always this calculating, or did Blake's scandal push him over the edge? Whatever the case, one thing is clear. His golden boy reputation took a hit so brutal, it might never fully recover. Sorry, Ryan, but the world is watching. And next time, a staged paparazzi shoot won't fool anyone. Ryan, you played yourself. And the worst part? Everyone saw right through it. No matter how his team tries to spin this, it'll always be seen as a botched, desperate attempt to look good. And for a guy who was once universally loved and respected for his cool, effortless charm, this is the furthest thing from cool. This battle has been dragging on for too long, and from the looks of it, it's far from over. But the real tragedy? It's taking a serious toll on everyone involved. Baldoni, especially, has been feeling the weight of this lawsuit. If he hadn't come prepared, with receipts, a strong case, and a powerhouse lawyer like Brian Friedman, he could have lost everything. And even though he's fighting back hard, refusing to let his name be dragged through the mud, the damage has already been done. Because let's be real, this was never an easy fight. Going up against a beloved Hollywood couple, especially when one of them is America's sweetheart, that's a battle most people wouldn't even dare to fight. But the fact that Baldoni is still standing, still fighting despite the odds, that's incredible. Most would have folded under the pressure, given up, walked away. But Baldoni? He knew that if he wanted to have a long career in Hollywood, surrendering was never an option. He knew the fight was damn near impossible, but he still chose to face it head-on. Lively and Reynolds didn't launch this lawsuit or push that damning article in the Times just to walk away as losers. Because in Hollywood, you don't need to win every battle. 9 out of 10 times, that's all it takes to completely destroy someone's career. And let's be honest, they've got every advantage in the book. A top-tier PR team, the best legal defense money can buy, and powerful allies in all the right places. They're practically untouchable. But Justin Baldoni? He wasn't about to go down without a fight. Just think about it for a second. Imagine being accused of something you never did, and nobody believes you. That's the kind of nightmare scenario Baldoni found himself in. And while the narrative has shifted, the consequences haven't disappeared. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ryan Reynolds is doing what he does best, putting on a show. He's lost control of the story, but there's one thing he can't afford to lose: his own public perception. Because Ryan Reynolds isn't just an actor, he's a brand. And a brand like his, it can't afford to look weak. So what does he do? Exactly what PR experts predict. He posts selfies, he cracks jokes, he doubles down on his philanthropy, making sure the headlines stay positive. Classic damage control. But make no mistake, this fight is far from over. And the fact that neither side is backing down? It means this war is only going to get uglier. This fight isn't over, far from it. Mediation proves that both sides still have moves left to play, and at some point, one of them is going to deliver the final blow. Right now, Baldoni seems to have the upper hand, but let's be real in a game like this. The big dogs don't play fair. Things can change in an instant. A single power move, a leaked document, a well-placed media hit, and suddenly, the tides shift. But make no mistake, Baldoni isn't here to lose. He's got serious backing and a team that's ready for war. He's not folding, and he's not going down without a fight. And as for how this battle ends, Hollywood's watching. Now, we want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Baldoni will come out on top, or will Reynolds and Lively pull off a last-minute power move? Drop your opinions in the comments below, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next explosive update.